And I think we're live. Hello, you all wonderful people. I'm so excited. So much fun today. Welcome to April Community Call. I'm joined by a lot of wonderful people. Some people are on camera, some jumped off, which is perfectly fine. But we have Pierre here, Josh here, Mark, Nicholas, myself, Alex is also going to be here. And also most of our team, if not everybody's in the chat. So say hello in the chat. Let us know where you all coming from, how you all been. Are you excited? I'm also excited as well. It's going to be so much fun. Say hello. Let us know how the weather is. Where you from? You know, it'll be really awesome. So we're going to jump in. We have a lot of excitement, and I do want to make sure we have plenty of time for Q&A. So let's cover what we're going to have on the agenda. We're going to talk about what's new in Strapi land, Strapi 5 beta. Is it happening? I think it is. Strapi 5. Of course, it's happening. You all wild folks over there. How to get involved. Talk about updates. And we're going to do Q&A. And the most important part is spend as much time as we can on Q&A, because I'm sure a lot of you are going to have a lot of questions about what we're going to be talking about. And people are saying hello from India, Nigeria, fantastic. You know, Barcelona, nice. Poland, fantastic. I know we have a trip coming up to Barcelona. It's going to be exciting. I've never been to so many cool countries. Oh, Italy, fantastic. Hello, everybody, and welcome. So we're going to jump in celebration time. Let's talk about what's been happening. We'll do a quick recap. Strapi 4, we had our content blocks, a new way for you to manage your content. Before we had our rich text for Markdown. Now we have our block editor. What's really awesome, it allows you to visually move and adjust your blocks, which is pretty awesome. And if you're trying to figure out how to implement it in your front-end project, we also have the React blocks renderer that you could use on your front end to make that process much easier. And I will share the link to the blog where you could find all the details in the chat. Or if someone could help me out, that's fine too. And we will move on. We also had releases. Now it's available to our cloud team and our EE features, but it allows you to bundle your content that you want to publish together. It's a really good way to organize things together. It enhances collaborations because others could see what's in the queue to be published. Is it ready or not? It also allows you to bundle your updates. So another amazing feature that we have. And of course, we have Strapi Cloud, which is amazing. A lot of things, a lot of features that have been added since the first time we created Strapi Cloud. I just want to say a huge shout out to everybody at Strapi with everything we do. But the fact that last year, almost like cloud did not exist, and here we are, a big congrats to everybody, and including our community for all the amazing support that you give us. And we have Strapi Cloud has Google and Git providers, so you're able to log in with GitHub, GitLab, Google email, which is awesome. My favorite feature, if you're building a Strapi project in the cloud, there's actually project share button. You could click, you could add the email, and you could share that project with somebody else. That means they could log into your dashboard as a guest, and you could all work on things together, which to me is really cool. Now you could also restore from backups. This is a big feature that a lot of you were asking for. We also have this concept of templates. We currently have one, but if somebody wanted to check out Strapi Cloud, you don't have your own project, you could literally select the block template, get started. It's going to have some data for you, and you could play around, see the awesome benefits. And here's the awesome part about that I love about Strapi Cloud: CDN included, database included, email included, file storage included. If you weren't using Strapi Cloud, database, email, and file storage, all those things, and probably CDN, all those things you would have to set up yourself, 100%. And this is one of the things I'm really excited in the next slide. And of course, you have real-time logs. But what's really excited for me is now that we have Strapi Cloud Dev Plan, it's $29 a month. So let me go back one slide here. So I've deployed my app with other various ways. And for a database, email, and file storage, a lot of you know that most of the services that you use, they are paid services. And so now if you take a look at our cloud plan for people that want to try it out, this makes sense to me because I've compared pricing based on other ways that I deploy. And I'm like, you know what? This is just so much easier for me, at least personally. And I'm like, this is the way to go. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there for anybody wondering. You could do the comparisons yourself, but it's pretty cool. Also, I just want to say thank you to you, all the amazing community, for supporting Strapi. Next.js starter 821 stars. I can't believe it. It's amazing. We know how Strapi and Next.js work really well together. So we're actually creating a new course, updated course, and showing you how to integrate Next.js with Strapi. You could start watching the playlist. It is working terms, meaning we're halfway done. I release new videos and blog posts every week. So check it out, and we'll make sure to share the links as well. But also, we had, I want to say, go check out Tube Guruji YouTube channel. He released couple of Strapi and Next.js tutorials that you could check out. They're like 5 hours, 6 hours long, really good in depth. And his recent tutorial was using Next.js, Tailwind, Strapi, and you build a full stack grocery store, which is really awesome. So I wanted to shout out Tube Guruji. Amazing, amazing content. Always amazing to see folks building stuff with Strapi. And if you're building stuff with Strapi, please share with us. Let us know all the cool things we're doing, because it's always exciting to see all the different use cases. And here's the thing, like, we always see stuff on the forum and Discord sometimes, especially talking about our Discord. It's a community-led place. That means a lot of the questions are asked and answered by the community. And sometimes it's impossible for us to be everywhere all at once. So we decided a while ago to have open office hours. But if you've never heard, we have open office hours Monday through Friday, where you are able to jump in and talk to one of us, actual like live people, and you could say, hey, I love Strapi, or like, man, this thing in Strapi is not working. I expect it. We understand. That's why we love to have you jump in into open office hours. We have 2 different times, 9 a.m. GMT or 6:30 p.m. GMT. So that's really cool for folks that more in the European side. And then also cool for me, I'm in the States, 6:30 p.m. GMT time, perfect time for me. So if you have questions, if you have feedback, there's nothing stopping you to go on Discord, jump in, and let us know how you're feeling. Really, really awesome. We're super excited to have you there. And now, Strapi 5 Beta. It is here. We're so excited. Huge congrats to our team. Everybody that worked really, really hard. I can't imagine how hard everybody worked on the team. Everybody's super busy. Thank you to the community patiently waiting. You could try it out now. And so we're going to have Nicholas bring him in, our product marketing, to talk about all the cool new features that are out here. And at the end of the, make sure you stick to the end of this call, because we're going to have our engineers, Josh, Mark, and Alex, who are going to be here to answer any burning questions that you might have. So Nicholas, take it away.
Thanks, Paul. Hi, I'm Nicholas. I do product marketing here at Strapi, and today I'm thrilled to show you some of the new features that come with Strapi 5. So first up, we have the improved draft and publish feature, a new way to handle content creation, editing, and publishing, making the process smoother and more intuitive for all users. So imagine a content writer just published a piece, but realizes there's more work to be done, improvements to be made, iterations to be explored, and so on. Like with the current system, any modifications directly affect the live content. So kind of leads to hesitation and the risk of unintended changes, and users often resort to workarounds like duplicating content or using external tools like Google Docs for revisions, and really only integrating their final work into Strapi. So these workarounds are exactly that, workarounds. They disrupt the workflow, hinder collaboration, and prevent users from utilizing Strapi to its full potential. And it's clear that the need for a more integrated and seamless process was essential. So the draft and publish feature is our answer to these challenges. With draft and publish, users can now work on their content within Strapi without the worry of accidentally altering live information. It allows for drafting, iterating, and collaborating directly in the platform, ensuring that any changes can be reviewed and approved before going live. So what's this new feature all about? First off, the user experience in the edit view is now a lot more intuitive, thanks to separate tabs for draft and publish content. So this distinction kind of simplifies the navigation and editing and kind of streamlining the process from drafting to publication. For editors, efficiency is key, right? So that's why we enabled the ability to save and publish in one action, kind of cutting down on the steps and time needed to make content live. And we've also added a modified document status that you can see here in the image. Both to the list and to the edit view, so you know right away if something's been changed. Perhaps the most exciting is the ability to work on a draft while keeping the published content untouched. and the option to discard changes made to the draft. So this level of control and flexibility ensures that the content can evolve without impacting what's already out there. And yeah, this is not just an update. I think it's a major leap forward in content management within Strapi, also because it lays the groundwork for future improvements like content history and more. Next slide, please. So next up, we replaced Webpack with Byte as the default bundler for Strapi. So what does it mean for you and your projects? First, you'll notice a significant boost in development speed, right? The development boot time is 3 times faster. This means less waiting, more doing, basically. And then consider the impact of a lighter build. So your builds are now 14% lighter, and a lighter build translates to faster load times for the Strapi admin panel. But yeah, should you decide that Webpack is more aligned, basically more your thing, simply you prefer it, and you have the flexibility to continue using it, just utilize the command bundler equals Webpack, and you're setting up your development environment and preparing your build that way. So in the end, the choice is yours. But yeah, next slide, please. Then we have the plugin CLI, so a new way to develop, test, and maintain plugins for our admin panel. A feature that is designed to streamline your development process and is highly relevant for our plugin contributors. So currently developing a plugin involves sticking closely to our guidelines to ensure seamless integration with the admin panel. And this process, while thorough, kind of has its challenges, especially when it comes to managing dependencies that can be overridden during the build process. So a primary issue was the maintenance of your plugins, especially when updates to shared dependencies like React or design system were made. So these updates could easily break your plugin, leading to a frustrating experience, of course. So to address these challenges, we're rolling out the plugin CLI, and this tool empowers you to build, watch, verify, and link your plugins more efficiently and with greater independence. So with the plugin CLI, your plugin becomes a standalone project. You can declare your own dependencies, build your plugin, watch for real-time changes, verify its integrity, and even link to it to a Strapi app not located within your plugin's local environment, which means your development process just got a lot more flexible and error-free, basically. So we hope you enjoy this new feature. We can't wait to see which plugins you build next. Next slide, please. And lastly, I'm excited to introduce a significant update to our API format. A change directly inspired by the valuable feedback from our community. Yeah, working with the previous API format was tricky, right? Long pass, untapped potential of the attributes, right? Kind of the deeply nested data and attributes properties made accessing data more difficult than needed, basically, which directly impacts your efficiency and the cleanliness of your code base. And then these structures lead to a mismatch for caching and integrating with React libraries like Relay. So we've taken your feedback to heart and simplified the API response structure. So this update means a lot less digging through data layers to find what you need. For example, fetching an author's first name now requires much less code, making your development process just smoother and more straightforward. In the end, we want to make your life easier, right? So with this update, you can spend less time fighting with the API and more time creating cool stuff. So we hope you enjoy the reduced payload and simplified data structure. These are the 4 new features I wanted to show you today, but stay tuned for more. We're just getting started. And with that, back to you, Paul.
Well, thanks so much, Nicholas. That was really awesome. And I would love to hear everybody's feedback as you start trying Strapi 5 beta. The one call out that I wanted to do right away, it is Strapi 5 beta. So if you're excited to take your Strapi 4 project to 5, this is not the time to do it. We much rather have you start project from scratch, play around with Strapi 5 features, give us feedback so we could make sure to continue to make improvements as necessary, and stay tuned for the updates on the release as it's coming, which I believe is June 9th or 10th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nicholas.
June 10th is.
Nice. I'm so excited. So we would love to have your feedback and help. With that being said, how can you start helping us is you could start trying Strapi and using our Strapi 5 beta docs. Pierre is going to share a lot of new cool things about it. And I just want to give huge shout out to Pierre for all the amazing work he's been doing. It's a lot of work and a lot of things to keep in mind. So thank you for that. And thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Paul, for the beautiful introduction. So hi, I'm Pierre. Some of you might know me as Pee-wee in the community, and I'm super excited to show you today a quick tour of what's available in the documentation. So I'm going to share my screen, thinking it's going to work, and also hoping that my internet connection is going to match Paul's energy level today, because I am having some internet issues today. Okay, so you should be able to see my screen. So Strapi beta documentation is available at docs-next.strapi.io, and we really wanted to have this documentation. This is a work in progress, but we wanted for you to have it live as soon as possible. So not so many differences from a UI point of view regarding the current documentation, but you will just notice the beta logo at the top and also the banner. We're going to go back to the banner in a few minutes. If you go to the developer docs, you will see a what's new page, which will give you a quick tour of what's new in Strapi and in the documentation as well. So we have the draft and publish documentation that was showed a few minutes ago with the two tabs that you can see. So if you want to know how this new draft and publish is working, you can already have a look at the documentation and also play with the beta, of course. We have the document service API documentation, which is a new API, which is going to replace the entity service. So you have plenty of examples for the different methods that you will see over there on the right. And you will also notice these smaller components, which means that if you're lacking some background information on something on the documentation, you can just click on the plus icon. You have a small recap of the things. And for instance, for the documents, which is a new concept in Strapi 5 and in the documentation, you have a conceptual introduction, because documents are not going to be MongoDB documents for people who know about it. So if you don't know what documents are in Strapi 5, you can just have a look at this documentation. What else? We have also the REST API and GraphQL API that have been updated. I won't go into details with it today because you would have a look at it. But just as Paul and Niklas mentioned, the data format has been simplified. So I'm pretty sure you're going to be super happy with that. Also, I'm going to quickly show you something around the migration, the upgrade, the breaking change, but please, just a word of caution, don't upgrade to Strapi 5 yet, especially in production. I think we will never stop doing this until the stable version. So just so you know, to simplify the migration, because I know it was quite a difficult task with the previous major version, we now have made many things that should make your life simply easier, basically. So you will have an upgrade tool to automatically migrate to some version. So you will be able to migrate to major version, minor version, and patch version. You also already have the documentation available if you want to have a look at it. And also we're going to have a full list of breaking changes available. So this list is still a work in progress, but for each breaking change that's going to happen for V5, you will have a dedicated page. And for instance, if I click on some of them, you have how it works in V4, how it works in V5, some useful notes, and if a code mod is not going to handle that particular breaking change, you will also have some instructions to migrate manually. So this is a list of breaking change. This is under construction at the moment. And last but not least, something I wanted to show you, which will be probably one of the most exciting features of the Strapi 5 documentation, is that you might have noticed an Ask AI button at the bottom right. So what does that do? Well, welcome AI on Strapi Docs. So let's try it. Right now, I can try to ask what's new in Strapi 5. It's going to think for a few seconds, and hopefully it will exactly tell you what I've just showed you at the moment. So you will get a list of what is available. You will get also, you can click on the more info page because it's going to bring you to the source page that was used for that. And you should also see, once it's finished generating, you should see a list of, it's a bit slow at the moment, but I hope it will be a bit faster after that. You should see a list of the source available. Yeah, right there, basically. So you can click on the source and go back to the page that you want. It's going to work with follow-up question as well. So for instance, I could say, can I get a document? We'll see what it answers us. So I guess, yeah, exactly. So in this case, it was it chose to reply with both REST API and document service API. I was expecting it to reply only with the REST API, but just wanted to show you that you can actually ask follow-up questions. So I could say, and with the query engine, and it should be able to grab all the context and understand your question and also provide an answer that is related to what you just asked. So I think that's it for the basically for the AI stuff. I'm pretty sure you're going to love working with it as much as we do. Once you get some answer, I'm just going to let it finish. Once you get some answer, you will be able to provide some feedback to the basically to the AI bot, so you can basically vote if the answer was satisfying enough for you or not. You can also give some instance for even more feedback, so we can fix that. And I think that's almost finished for my demo today. I just wanted to highlight the fact that you have at the top a banner where you can click on the link and go to a Google form. So we are looking forward to getting your feedback on this documentation, because we are still building it and we want to improve whatever you would like to see improved before the stable version. That's it for me. Thanks.
Thank you, Pee-wee. Really, really awesome, and really, really excited. And I love the fact that we're combining, an easy chat way for people to ask questions. And what's awesome about it, Pee-wee was saying, is that in the back end, we actually could confirm the type of responses the chatbot gives. And if the answer is not correct, we could update it and retrain the system, which is really awesome. So that all the information is going to be based on our current documentation. So go use it, give it a try, give us feedback. Will be really, really awesome. So thank you so much for that, Pee-wee. And so I'm going to continue. Let me share my screen again. One more second and try to get involved. Sounds good. So speaking of this, how can you get involved? How can you help us out before we jump into Q&A? And we need your help. We want you to try Strapi 5. Any issue that you find, please create a bug for it. Help us out to continue to make improvements to make it ready. Read the beta docs. So all the things that Pee-wee has showed, if there's something that is maybe missing or you have questions about it, please use that option that Pee-wee showed. It really helps us to improve the docs for everybody. And if you have built plugins in the past for Strapi 4, it'll be really awesome to have you consider migrating your current plugin to V5 and tell us about the experience. So we could, again, to improve all the different tools available to you to help you migrate the process. Or if you build one from scratch, really, really awesome. And we are going to be here for you in open office hours. We shared the times earlier. So anytime you have questions around V5, or we're going to prioritize a lot of V5 questions. If you have V4 questions, we're going to answer them as well. But jump on, talk to us. And if you want to talk to us asynchronously, we have the V5 beta channel in Discord, which we want to have you there participate. The more of you participate, the better feedback we're able to get to make things better. And if you wanted to host a release party for Strapi, reach out to me. My email is paul.broslavsky@strapi.io. I'll spell it out. I can't speak and type at the same time, but I'll put it out there for you if you're interested, and we'll give you all the necessary things. But we want everybody to spread the love. Thanks, Pierre, for sharing that, because it's going to be amazing. I am super, super excited. And the one thing that I want to say before we jump into Q&A is that after I started working at Strapi and seeing how hard a team works, it blew my mind. Like everybody who's on our team, they're putting in the work, they're putting the time, they're working to make Strapi be the best headless CMS that we can be. And me interacting on both sides, talking and seeing what our team does, and also seeing the community and some of the responses we get. We do appreciate all feedback, including constructive criticism. But I just wanted to shout out everybody here in Strapi goes beyond the call of duty to make this product be the best that we can. And I'm just saying it from me being on the team and seeing how hard everybody works. And this is why I'm motivated to work really hard, because I'm like, I gotta do it, because that's what our team is, which is pretty awesome. So with that being said, we're going to bring in Josh, Alex, and Mark. Josh is a senior front-end engineer. Alex Bowden is our CTO, and Mark is our senior back-end developer. And so let's ask lots of questions. Let's do it. So we could take a look at the question tab, see if some of those have been answered. That looks like they have. But looking at the chat, and any of you, if you see any questions in the chat, you could just jump on. You don't have to wait for me to kind of bring them up. But I did have a first question. So I noticed on the response, we have document ID. And when I was playing with like Strapi 5, we also still have ID. Are both going to still remain, or one of them is going to get kind of like factored out?
We're still keeping the ID attribute. We mainly will ask users to use the document ID, especially for compatibility with V4 and V5. You will be able to use the regular ID in other places. But yeah, having said that, document ID should be the main ID when interacting with data in V5.
Awesome. Cool. And let's see in the chat. Folks, don't be shy. Ask questions. We could even ask questions. Anyone could ask questions, by the way. I might have another one. So we're going from entity service to using document service. What are the biggest differences, and how does it work? Like under the hood, what are the improvements?
I think the biggest difference is how locales work, and different locales work between each other. We'll not go into details, but now you provide a document ID and you specify the locale. You have a single ID and you can say I want the English version of it, or I want the French version of it. Whether before it was a bit more complicated, every locale had a different entity ID, had a different ID. And especially for some users, that was very difficult to deal with. For example, in an e-commerce, you would have an ID of a product for a single locale, and you would have a different one for another locale. And in situations like that, it will be much easier, I believe. I would say that's the biggest difference.
And we have a question. Why do we stick with the populate feature? I think it's amazing, but I might be a little bit biased, you know?
I think it's amazing too. You need to get used to it, and I think it's very powerful. But at some extent, we need to provide a way to populate relations, components, and attributes like that. And I believe populate gives that amount of flexibility. And I would really recommend documentation on populate and giving it some time and love, because it's really useful.
Yeah, the hardest thing for me was at first is when I started like using it, because it's just a new way of thinking. But I still love the fact that you could ask for the things that you want. So you always prevent underfetching and overfetching. And what I've noticed after I got some practice with it, it became comfortable to use. I know that in the past, a lot of people used Populate Deep, which is not a plugin that's recommended at all. And it literally stemmed from, I feel like people just wanted to find like an easy way to do it, but just take a little bit of time, understand the documentation. We have great resources and a great blog post that covers that. It makes your flow much easier, and you get to control exactly the things that you want that will have impact on performance as well. Another question, let's see, there's lots of questions coming in. If you see a question that I don't mention, you could just speak out the answer. Someone asked, Divakar, sorry if I pronounced your name wrong, asked, would the doc service have better intelligence types like the entity service?
Yes, it will have, I would say, similar intelligence as the entity service. We are trying to improve it. soon we will provide a sort of a middleware system, which is like similar to the database lifecycles. We're working on that, but we aim to provide good TypeScript support for those APIs.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do have another question. Are there any updates on the mobile experience, specifically around navigation on the content manager? And it's something that comes up a lot. And due to how busy I'm prioritizing things, that's a good question. But what is our current plan at the moment?
Yeah, good question. We're working on the version 2 of the design system, which will implement kind of like the base work for it, where all the props will be able to be responsive, but the actual components, so like an accordion, won't be responsive straight away. It is something that we recognize we really should be doing in 2024. And like you said, Paul, it's about prioritizing and trying to balance everything. But this is kind of like the groundwork for that, and from there it'll be quicker to implement all that, because the design system is shared across the cloud. It also means the cloud will benefit, which is obviously makes it a lot more complicated to implement, but all the better kind of reward.
Awesome. And we had the question for Aurelian. Will the old GraphQL format still be supported on V5?
I will throw the question to Alex. I am not sure about that.
I'll take this one, no worries. We do add some options to actually enable a V4 compatible mod in the GraphQL schema. So you will actually get back the all data attributes, those kind of things, even if there are much better alternatives in V5. The same as the Content API REST response format, we want to ease the migration. So you will be able to opt into that V4 compatibility mode, get more fields and more nesting, and then slowly remove them to get the new V5 experience, which much simpler queries.
Nice. And a question, is there any plan to build a dynamic form builder like collections? I mean, to me, it sounds like that's a plugin for someone to build, but not so much for us to do. Because
I've seen it mentioned. I've seen it mentioned a few times, being like, people are interested in it. So I think you said, yeah, it could be a good plugin for a community member, or maybe Mark gets bored on a weekend and wants to do it.
Speaking of plugins, can you talk about some of the improvements and differences from V4 to V5 in terms of building plugins?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, so one big change in the admin is we don't alias the dependencies. So like, I think a lot of users had issues with Axios, where they had their own version installed and then they'd kind of build it and all kind of implode. And we kind of removed that, and we've built this CLI so it's easier to build a plugin from scratch and ask you a few questions like, do you want TypeScript, do you want ESLint, do you want admin server? And then there's kind of helpful bits for just building them on their own, which kind of performs some best practices, kind of the same way we build our libraries and plugins. One really cool kind of thing is called link watching. So like, if you've built an NPM library, you might kind of on your repo make that the central point, like that's the kind of thing that you're showing to everyone. But then you want to link it to an example, because like for Strapi, you need to see the UI, you need to have Strapi running. So you can use the link watch command, and it'll watch your plugin, build it, and it'll link it up to Strapi, and you'll see all your updates kind of working, and then it's quite easy to publish it afterwards. So there's kind of lots of those little powerful ones, and there's stuff like validating that NPM package is in best practice. So it's stuff around just helping the developer experience mainly.
Awesome. Zion asked, will customization of Strapi components, dynamic zones, WYSIWYGs, etc. will be easier in V5? I know after certain updates back in the past, I know this was not the recommended way, but a lot of people liked using patch package to modify the front end, and it seems that that's no longer an easy path to take. Are there going to be additional ways to customize the front end admin panel? Specifically, is there something we're thinking about, like extra dynamic zones in V5?
Yeah. So that kind of just interesting. I mean, the what you see is what you get. You can kind of swap out already by like adding a field, and you can do that with quite a lot of them. You might be able to do it with dynamic zones. I can't remember off the top of my head. But one thing that we're kind of looking at is developing a better router API, because we upgraded to React Router 6, which offers like cool stuff like loaders, which is the main thing for us is loaders, because it makes the links better. So when you hover on them, it kind of auto fetches, and it just makes it a bit better of an experience. But with that, when we're developing that, we kind of thought, is there a way to, because the whole router is written in a massive object, is there a way to kind of extend that and have people introduce routes easier on the admin panel? Can they add their own routes without adding a menu link, which could be a use case that we haven't really thought about, can you then, is there a potential to override our own routes? The one I'm mainly thinking of is the homepage. A lot of people have asked for it, and it's kind of something it's quite an easy win if we can make it work without being too detrimental to the rest of the app. So yeah, we're quite aware that the front end kind of had a bit of a decrease in customization from 3 to 4, and like many things, trying to balance everything to introduce as much as we can in a safe way, but with the right APIs that aren't just kind of don't leave you in the lurch, and kind of they're well typed so you understand what's going on, stuff like that.
Another question from Baptiste, the limit of depth components, will it be removed in V5? I know that's a common thing where people want to see how deeply nested components they could make. Obviously, the deeper you go, the less performant that will be. So I know currently we have in V4 limit to depth of 2, I believe. And when this question comes up, and I just want to hear like the team's thought, this becomes a question not so much of like how deep can you go, but are you structuring or modeling your data as appropriately as possible? And maybe there's some kind of feedback we could have on that.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but I know the question you're asking. Yeah, that's actually something we're working on in DX during V5. I think we're going to separate into 2 easy wins. So like right now, a few people already know that you can like manually override it, and you can just edit the schema and it will render. In V5, the whole UI will render correctly because it was easier to be recursive than not. So you can really, the schema will reflect the UI. The design might not look very nice, but it will reflect it. And then in 2 parts, we're thinking, can we remove the limit quite easily, but then you've got performance implications. And then we've also started talking about, how do we circumvent those performance similar to how we've done relations where they're lazy loaded. That is probably the easiest solution to do with components. How do we lazy load them on the front end so you don't sit there waiting for 5 minutes for your entity to load.
That makes sense. A lot of good questions. Another one here from Derek, different Derek. Will V5 have the ability to run API using read-only database connections?
I believe you might be able to use read-only database connections. I'm not sure how you will create content though with it. Not sure about that.
Yeah, no, it's not possible at the moment. You write too many things. You might use a read-only if you want to access directly the DB, but not inside Strapi directly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and if anyone sees other questions that I might have missed, just jump on those. I know some of them are being answered via chat, which is awesome. Let's see here. Yeah, because a lot of these have been answered in chat. Let's see here. While we think of, look at some other questions, maybe we could talk a little bit about some of the TypeScript enhancements from V4 to V5. General improvements.
Yeah, I think we're mainly working on making it more user-friendly. I think we found So obviously the whole project kind of generates types based on your schemas, which is really great when you're just generating schemas and you kind of want to plug them into your front end and say, this is why return. We found working with them when we started refactoring our entire code base to TypeScript, we found, at least on the front end, that they were quite complicated for a good reason, because it is a very complicated code base. But I know some members of the team have been working really hard to make it more user-friendly, more approachable, perhaps a little simpler in how you would interact with them, typing your own plugins. And as Mark said, we are all our APIs from now on, we're trying to type strongly. We've started there's an auto doc generation system we're trying hard to work on for v5 stable. So the whole type package will generate its own docs. I think they'll be put into our contributor docs, but don't quote me on that. And we're definitely kind of focusing on auto-generated docs for lots of things as well, like the exports we do for the admin. So because we deprecated the helper plugin, all the exports that we're exporting from other packages like the admin stuff will be auto-generated. So it kind of links straight to the code, and then, we don't forget to update the documentation, basically.
That makes sense. And speaking of TypeScript, still in V4, a lot of people wanted to use the Strapi types in their front end. And I worked on one example that you'll help me with, but is there going to be an easier implementation of Strapi types in V5 if someone wants to use them in the front end? Because I've seen lots of different workarounds, and some of them, you can't recommend, but people are still doing them.
Yeah, I think we're going to be working on it. We're going to be working on an SDK. We started talking about it in DX as kind of like, what would it look like? How easy would it be kind of sizing? So it's super early days. But one thing that we want to investigate into working is how can we kind of have it inferred types in some way? Is that possible? Could we use registries similar to how like TanStack Router is got amazing type systems? Can we do the same with our SDK? So it is a lot easier to use in your front end, because I've worked with a couple of CMS, and it is always really difficult to go from schema to types to API responses. Like that kind of journey is always super difficult. I've not seen a lot of people quite get it right yet. So yeah.
Thanks. Then Andre asked, is it possible to export GraphQL schema for the entire API soon?
Maybe one for Alex.
Nope. Well, you kind of get the playground, so you could actually export it from the playground. At the moment, there is no feature to export it. You could do programmatically also in the Bootstrap. You could just get the plugin GraphQL and get the schema and then dump it. We don't have like a button or something like that to export it at the moment, and it's not planned.
And I'm taking a look at more questions. Do want to be mindful of our teammates' time, especially those who are, most of you are closer to the end of your afternoon or work. So let's see if there's no questions. I see. Remember that we do have open office hours Monday through Friday. We have them at multiple times. So we have it if you're more better for European time, it's 9 a.m. GMT time. If you more in the US or our side of the world, it's 6:30 p.m. GMT. So whatever questions we may have missed, you could always stop by and chat with us there, and also find additional feedback on, Strapi 5 Beta Discord, where you could ask your questions as well. But I want to say thank you to everybody who joined us today. Without you, the community, we wouldn't be here. The truth is, we hear your feedback, and one of the hardest things that's why I'm glad I'm not the person that has to make all these decisions, is everybody gives a lot of feedback, but how do you prioritize what to work on next? You know, because we do have a limited team and we all are working hard to try to pick the things that are the most important to continue to grow Strapi to be the best headless CMS that it already is, based on all the amazing stars on GitHub and awesome feedback. And obviously, we're not perfect. We are human beings and we try our best. And sometimes, you know, we miss things. One of the big examples was, you know, and we own it, you know, from going from V3 to V4, we changed the structure of the data. A lot of constructive, if you would call it constructive criticism that we received. And now we're here on V5. We flattened out the response, made it better. And so we do, you know, try to listen and make the changes, but you just have to realize we're all working really hard. We all have a lot of priorities and a lot of tasks at hand. And so we try to, and the effort we have available, what the best decisions we could make to keep moving forward. But one thing that I could say is that everybody here, and this is why a big hat off to everybody on Strapi, is working really, really hard to make, you know, Strapi be the best headless CMS for all of you to use. And so thank you to the Strapi team. And of course, big thank you to everybody in the community, because without you, without your feedback, positive or negative, whatever it is helping us to continue to grow and move forward. So we appreciate every comment you leave, every part of feedback you give. It means a lot to us. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to everybody for I said Pee-wee, but Pierre here, Nicholas, Mark, Josh, and everybody, all our teammates in the chat. We have everybody here, Pierre, Lillian, so many people in the chat. So thank you all for stopping by. And with that being said, we're going to call it a day, and we'll continue this conversation assiduously on Discord or during open office hours. So thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all later. Bye.